Between tariff wars and a new NAFTA deal and now the pandemic, the last 4 years have been pretty unpredictable for those in the steel industry. Last year, more than $11 billion worth of steel was traded between Canada and the U.S., which means many producers here at home are watching the election for what signs could be coming down the pipeline next. Catherine Cobden is president of the Canadian Steel Producers Association. She's our guest this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Let's talk about some of the key changes for steel production under the Trump administration. In 2018, the U.S. imposed a 25% tariff on imports of Canadian steel. Now, that was lifted a year later, but how is the impact of that tariff still being felt by producers today, 2 years later?
Yeah, well, it has been really challenging times, Anne-Marie. As you are probably aware, once we got the tariffs lifted, we had to recover. And as we were beginning our recovery, we unfortunately got hit with the pandemic, which has had a devastating effect as well. So, I think the best characterization I can give is these are challenging times.
Also under the Trump administration was the new NAFTA deal. That came into effect in July. This calls for higher levels of North American content in cars. So what would that mean for people in the steel industry here in Canada?
Well, actually, that is a bright spot in our future. It's what we're very much looking forward to, working with the new administration, whether it's Donald Trump and his administration returning or Joe Biden and a new path. We're really looking forward to the full implementation of that new deal. The new NAFTA is a very good deal for North American steel industry. And as you mentioned, it sees a significant increase in the amount of North American steel that needs to go into key supply chains for automotive, for example. So this is good news for us, and it's what we're looking forward to in the future.
Well, let's pull out a little bit and take a look at the global perspective. On top of all the volatility in our North American markets, what are your concerns when you look at global conditions?
Yeah, we're really concerned about the increase in production of steel globally. A handful of countries, namely China and a few others, have increased their capacity at a time when, in fact, markets around the world have become deeply depressed. So we're on our guard. We're really worried that this steel will make its way into the North American marketplace and will have a devastating effect on prices, on conditions that are important for steel workers, our communities, and our sort of supply chains at large.
What would be an ideal scenario for you coming out of this election?
Well, the ideal scenario, the one that we're banking on, is a cooperation with the United States as we strengthen our supply chains even further. It's incredible. Right now, steel moves back and forth across the border many times as it's transformed to important products for the market. So we need to continue to recognize that openness of our border between Canada and the United States. And we need to work together on the threats that face the industry, particularly from foreign dumping of steel.
Catherine, one last question for you. You mentioned the word devastating for the Canadian steel industry, especially when we're looking at the global markets. What does that mean in terms of numbers and practicalities? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so, we have actually, during the pandemic, we have been very fortunate that there has been a federal program called the Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidy Program. That has made that certainly has helped the situation. But the biggest difficulty we face is the unpredictability of the recovery in the context of foreign steel coming onto our shores as well. Obviously, we need to be very mindful that the recovery might be long and slow, and we're looking forward very much to participating fully in that recovery, but it could be a long road ahead.
Catherine Cobden, thanks for joining us on Your Morning today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.